So it is being live streamed as we speak. And right, so first of all, I'd like to say welcome both Jemima and Lorraine this evening. It's a pleasure having you both on board. I've got a few individuals that have sent their apologies this evening, so they won't be joining us. They're going to be catching us up live into the Facebook group. Well, not live into Facebook group. They're going to catch up the live that's in the Facebook group. But it's nice to actually see you on the screen. Unlike last week, I had to use my mobile phone because my computer decided it wasn't going to work at all. So I've not had a lot of luck with it. And this evening, as I've already mentioned to many, announced to many individuals, we have a very special guest speaker tonight, Jemima. It's more of an interview than anything, because this is quite a significant week for Jemima. But the whole reason why we've got this week's session and focus on not just Jemima, but it is all about having a purpose, having a why. And for those of you that have been following my whole four-stage program that I've been doing over quite a long period of time, one of the key pillars on there is about rediscovering your why. You know, what gives you passion, what gives you purpose, what gives you joy in life. And of course, that needs to align with your values and your beliefs and make sure that they're all in balance. And that's whether that's on a personal level or professional level. And when we start talking to you on a much deeper level, Jemima, that will become more apparent why it's even more significant that it needs to be all in balance, because without it, we start struggling along and every day starts being like Groundhog Day. And it's beautiful that Lorraine is on the call as well, because here is another lady that I know is definitely living her purpose and has done for a long time. She's a fortunate lady where she actually fell into a career that she does really love, where unlike many of us that fall into a career that, okay, we might be good at, but not necessarily something that we're actually living and loving with passion and purpose. And sometimes it takes 50 years to realise that. So without further ado, first a quick introduction to Jemima. Jemima, tell us who you are and why you're here. And I'm also going to do a quick introduction for Lorraine as well, but it'd be lovely to hear about you first of all.
All right, so thank you for having me here, for starters. As you're aware, my name is Jemima Nelson. I am a qualified nurse, and I have been doing occupational health currently. But prior to that, I worked on hematology. So when I qualified as a nurse, I worked on hematology as well for about 5-6 years, looking after sickle cell patients and cancer patients. I'm currently self-employed. I run my own clinic. I do travel vaccines and occupational health. I've been running this since 2007. I am a mother of 3 girls and a grandma as well. And as you were, my book, Ultimate Power from My Pain, it talks about my sickle cell. So I am a sickle cell sufferer as well. And it's hereditary. So I've had this since I was a child. I was born with it. And it's not going anywhere. So that's a bit about me, I think, yeah, in a nutshell.
Okay, and we'll have some more questions for you in a short while, Jemima. And just for you, so you know, everybody, the reason why I've met Jemima, and I've been blessed with meeting Jemima, is through the Santander female women's leadership program for business, and I am her mentee or mentor, should I say, not her mentee. And it's been an absolute pleasure. Although as I learned last year and this year, is that just because you're someone's mentor doesn't mean to say that you know more than somebody else, not by any stretch of the imagination. We have so much to learn from each other. She's like amazingly qualified, and you'll find out more about that in a short while. But every single mentee I have worked with within the program, their skills have been unbelievable. When you're asking all the questions from them about, you know, what they're doing, why they're doing it, all those kind of things, and what they need from you, you're going through this whole tick list of things that they're doing, and you're like, shouldn't you maybe be mentoring me? There's something that you can learn from another person. So, and also Lorraine, give us a quick introduction of who you are. So.
Hi, yes, I'm Lorraine Wesselby, as you probably know. I actually, funnily enough, met Keely because we were both mentors in the Women Business Programme and still are. And I think the criteria for being on that programme is, you know, do you have a business where you've either been successful and help people? And for me, my first business was 30 years fashion design, manufacture and retail, you know, creating gowns that walk the red carpet for celebrities. And then for over 10 years now, I've had a global online health and well-being business where I predominantly help women to have that kind of safety net, that extra plan B that can become their plan A, but really empower women to be all that they can be through sustainable, healthy living. The fact that we're a B Corp and all about giving back to the planet and people in equal measures is really important, you know, and I think women are the ones that generally think more about as a whole, the planet and people and everything they can do. So yeah, I just love helping people. In fact, today I've been helping somebody who's been a bit poorly, and her friend said, you know, here's Lorraine's number. And it was just such a pleasure to help somebody, you know, and make a difference in their life. So yeah, I'm all about helping people.
Wow.
So.
I'm on a good team then.
You certainly are. You certainly are, Jemima. So, and I think that's one of the good things that's bigging up Santander is that they do have a very good qualification process as to who will be mentors, because they want to make sure that they have the right fit for people that are going to be participating, and equally that the mentees are a right fit as well, because you want to make sure people that are going to be taking action and that they want to drive things forwards and make change and all those kind of things. So definitely a positive on there. So I'm sure Maria will like that. so anyway, so I've got Adrian that's just coming in. She's just joining us. So I know that she has a big why in that. But before, without further ado, I'm going to go through a few questions right now for yourself, Jemima. Hello, Adrian. I'm going to do a quick introduction to you in a short while, but I want to pick up with a Jemima at the moment, who we're going to be doing a nice little interview and introduction. So for Jemima, as she's already mentioned and discreetly showed her book, so this week is a phenomenal week for her because it is the release of her first book. And I say first book because I know there'll be more. Once you've done one, you just want to keep on going. So, and I know that with this book, it's been so important for her because it is about sharing her story, not just for her, but to be able to give hope to other people that have sickle cell and show them that there is another way, and also to open up the eyes of the medical profession, because, and you'll explain more, with sickle cell, they're not really treated in the best way within that forum. And not necessarily because they don't care, it's because they don't understand, and there's so much that can be done different. And this is, for me, why it's so important to have you on here and sharing your story, because I do believe we need to open our eyes and also our ears. So you come from Ghana, Jemima. Could you remind me again, why was it that you left Ghana in the first place?
All right. So yes, I was born in Ghana, stayed there till I was 19, did all my education, formal education in Ghana. Came here just before I went to university. Now, I just wanted a bit of a break initially. And then I got here. It's all in the book anyway. I got here, met with some friends, realized that life was much better and easier in the UK. Although I was a young girl with no family. I had step brothers here, but obviously I left my parents and everything I've known in Ghana. And when I settled, it was a much easier life here. There was independence for me. I think that was a big thing because in Ghana, we don't really have that. So that was a big thing. And I realized I could achieve more being in the UK, hence the reason why I stayed on.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And yes, you not only got qualified as a nurse, but you also went on to do other degrees, and one more recently too.
Yes. So I qualified as a nurse in 2001. I did my diploma in nursing. After that, I was fortunate enough to go into UCLH. So I worked on a hematology ward. So in my third year, I had a placement on a hematology and oncology ward in UCLH. By the time I finished my third year, they had employed me on the ward, which was amazing because I had the opportunity to look after sickle cell patients. I had cancer patients as well, but I was able to share a lot of what I knew when I was young because I could relate to the sickle cell patients. We were exchanging notes, should I say, as Keely said, we always learn, although I may have sickle cell, I didn't know it all. What I knew, my perception of the illness, I knew from Ghana. So I knew I couldn't have kids. I knew I wouldn't leave till I was after 21. I was going to die by the age of 21. I knew I couldn't hold a job because it was chronic pain, always in hospital. I knew I couldn't even finish my education. So working on the ward and looking after patients who had similar beliefs, I was able to, should I say, change their mindset because I had finished my diploma. Most of the patients on the ward knew I had sickle cell. They saw me studying. They knew I finished. Then I got pregnant with my second child on the ward as well. So some patients knew they couldn't have kids, but here I was, full-blown sickle cell, being pregnant. So that was inspiration for them. Holding a job as well. I was a nurse right after. So I really enjoyed that bit. I really enjoyed that. So yes, from there, I then decided I was going to do occupational health because it was quite hard being a sickle cell patient and then with younger children on the ward. So I thought, what else can I do? So I ended up studying occupational health, degree in occupational health in Brunel University. When I finished, I worked in the NHS, I did some private, I did some contracting, and then opened my own clinic. Mm-hmm. So I started doing Occy Health. I started from home and then decided, you know what? Anytime I was unwell with sickle cell crisis, obviously the business it was stagnant, it was still. So I decided to open a clinic where I could have other people work for me. So I did that as well, and then decided to add travel to it, just so that I have a bit of diversity in what I do. During the COVID, I realized I couldn't really run the clinic because people couldn't come and see me on site. So I was working mainly from home. And I thought, what else could I do? So I decided then to do my MBA. So I applied for an MBA course in Anglin Ruskin. And then I finished. And funny enough, when I finished, I was approached by Anglin Ruskin to also give the vote of thanks. I was a bit nervous, spoke to my children about it, and they encouraged me to do that. So I was also able to stand in front of everybody, giving a vote of thanks, which was amazing. I'm not a very good speaker in front of a whole crowd. So I was able to give this vote of thanks, and that helped. So that was done as well. And yes, I decided, well, I've been writing this book for a while. And then I met Keely. And then Keely really helped, very good support. And Jonathan as well. Keely introduced me to Jonathan. And then here I am, talking about the book I thought I was never going to write. Yes, a great achievement. So yes, this is all about my education and what's, yeah, so.
Thank you. That's just an incredible story, Jemima, and it just goes to show that no matter what, and I mean, for people I know I did a master's degree a while ago, and I know it's hard work, but I have not had to suffer what you're dealing with on a regular basis, a day-to-day basis, plus you're also doing it whilst you're trying to run a business and also through difficult times, because how do you sustain a business that requires contact with people and you're not able to contact people? So just that in itself just goes to show what a resilient, incredible individual that you are. And you know, the fact that you're able to unlock the mindsets and beliefs that people have surrounding sickle cell. And on that point, I'd like to take a step back. That one of the things that you highlighted there is that in Ghana, that the life expectancy for someone with sickle cell is 21 years old. Could you talk about that a little bit more? What drives that pattern to be like that? What's the difference between here and in Ghana that would lead that?
All right. I think what it is in Ghana, we have a lot of knowledgeable doctors because sickle cell, as you may know, it's a Black disease. It started due to mutation to malaria. So that's how it started. Now, we have a lot of knowledgeable doctors and facilities in Ghana. However, is the resources. Is the resources. So when I was young, I mean, things have changed now, but when I was younger, I knew I couldn't live till 20. And it could be due to medication shortage. It could be lack of resources, as I said, access to hospitals on time, access to specialist hospitals. I believe that could be the reasons why. Since then, things have changed. Research, you know, a lot of research has gone into sickle cell. And I know that in working on the ward, I think the oldest patient was 64 then in the UK. And since then, I've found out, I've made a friend with one of the sickle cell patients recently, and he's 74. So there's more hope with research and medication now, things are being improved. But in those days in Ghana, I think it's more resources, and we were quite knowledgeable about the disease.
Yeah. Which, you know, it is understandable that is going to be one of the biggest challenge with it. And I think what is even more heartening is the fact that you've proven that you are able to have children. I mean, wow, 3. So 3 children, which is incredible. And the great thing about that is that you're you know, you're able to change that mindset and belief with other people because they're seeing the evidence. So it's another thing that you can share to others, not just within this book, but also when you're actually talking to friends and family and that are back in Ghana as well, because clearly that message is still not just Ghana, but in other places, still coming through that it's not possible. So
I agree. And just so that I would highlight a bit about sickle cell, just so that people that don't know what sickle cell is would also understand. It's all in my book, as I keep saying. But sickle cell, so the red blood cells are round. But with sickle cell, red blood cells are crescent shaped, so they are C-shaped. We can have sickle cell carriers and we can have full-blown sickle cell patients. Now, if a carrier, so the main problem is when children are being born or conceived. A carrier parent would have a sickle cell child. So if a carrier parent would have a normal hemoglobin, which is an A, and either an S or a C. So anything apart from A is sickling. So if we have 2 carriers, if the mom donates A and the dad donates A, the child is normal, no sickle cell. If the dad donates a C or an S and the mom donates A, then the child is a carrier. If each parent donates the sickling hemoglobin, then the child is known as a full-blown sickle cell patient. As I said, it was due to mutation. So the whole idea was obviously malaria and mosquitoes would bite the round blood cells and insert the parasites in the round blood cells. So our cells mutated over years so that the mosquitoes cannot deposit the parasites in the round blood cells. But unfortunately, everything has consequences. So although we might be difficult to get malaria, if we do get malaria, it's detrimental because we have very low round blood cells.
wow.
Just so that you understand what the disease is. And it causes chronic pain, excruciating pain. It's normally in the joint, so it could be anywhere. It could be in your elbows, your chest, it could be anywhere. Now, mainly I get my pains in my joints, so my knees and my elbows. That's the main places I suffer with. But I've known people to suffer sickle cell chest, in the skull, it's everywhere, as long as it's bone, because it's through circulation. So as the blood is going through, the hemoglobin is going through the circulation, the crescent shapes hook onto each other.
Yeah.
And then that is what causes the pain.
Wow.
Just so that I give a broad understanding of sickle cell to those who don't understand what the disease is. And I've had to, well, I'm saying so much about the disease, but with with the pain, it means that obviously you that's why I think it's being said that we can't hold jobs because you're constantly in pain. We're having to have treatments. At this stage of my life, I have to have blood exchanges every 5 weeks. Every 5 weeks, I have 8 bags of blood just to help with my condition. I'm on quite high dose painkillers. So I have morphine at home, I have oral, I have long release morphine, I have short release morphine, I have all sorts of painkillers. And then I have other medication to counteract the side effects of the morphines as well. And this can go on for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, depending. So I could be in pain for a couple of weeks. I think on the wards, we had someone stay in hospital for a whole year.
Wow.
Wow. So I think, it's a debilitating condition which affects Black people.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that, because I mean, although I know of sickle cell and I know that it is like where it's surrounding a blood disorder, but I didn't know the depth of what it was around. And I think it was actually you that shared with me that it was a strain of sort of malaria, or what was the phrase that you used for it? It was
so mutation.
That's it. Yeah, mutation of malaria. Yeah. So so it's, I mean, it's fascinating what we all learn from each other. So obviously this week is a really, really important time for you because you're releasing your book, and then it's an incredible achievement. How long have you been writing your book?
Well, I started, as I said, I started a while. So I've been writing. What I did was I had chapters in my head and I had titles for my chapters. So I had it on the computer, and every time I remembered something, I would go and fit it in that chapter. So I've been doing that for a while. So I started writing that. I met up with Keely. We spoke about it. Keely gave me some more tips on how to finish this book and what I needed to do. And amazingly, it's all been published now. So that's how it all started. And I'm so excited. I'm so very excited. Can't wait till Saturday to launch this book. I think I've already had some requests.
Yes.
Because in our community, we all know someone who suffered with sickle cell.
Yeah.
So I think it's something I've really achieved, and I'm really happy for.
That's fantastic. And I know that within my community, I've got quite a big network, and there's quite a few people that have said that they would definitely like a copy. So we will make sure that a link is shared to them when the opportunity is there. Interestingly, though, we have a little announcement on that, because despite the fact the book hasn't actually launched, Jemima is already in the top 4 in terms of bestsellers, which is quite an incredible achievement. We know that by this time on, well, next week, we know you're going to be a #1 bestseller for sure. It's 100% going to happen. So
great. That's a great achievement.
Is it on back order already?
Yes.
Wow! Huge congratulations.
Thank you.
You're an incredible woman.
Thank you. I'm humbled, but thank you. Thank you.
So, and well, I think it's us that should be humbled, to be quite honest, Jemima. I mean, you are an inspiration. What I would also like to find out is, so why is this so important for everybody else? Why is it so important for other sickle cell sufferers and people that are living with it as well, not just those that have it, but living with it as well?
All right. So when I started reading this book, it was because I had a self-reflection. I reflected on my life and my experiences and choices. And I thought, if I can put something together, I would be able to help other sickle cell sufferers. Now, I think it also started, I won't give too much credit to myself, but my sickle cell consultant, Mary Clark, she's retired now, but she used to say that my life at the moment would help a lot of sickle cell patients. So I think she started putting the seed in my head. And I thought, you know what, on the wards, I realized that I did help a lot of people. I had to speak to a couple who thought, you know, they couldn't go through this together. It was too stressful. The sickle cell sufferer thought the non-sickle cell partner didn't understand what he was going through. The non-sickle cell partner thought she couldn't cope with her husband going through pain all the time. And I had to explain to them what I had done, what I had achieved, and they were very grateful for the advice I gave. So just reflecting on what I had done in the past, I thought if I could write a book, it would help other people as well. Now, also to inspire and have an impact on people, to help people facing similar situations. Because as I said, when I was working on the ward, most patients had a perception of what I had when I was a child in Ghana. So nothing really had changed at the time. And I realized, I sat down and I reflected, why is it that we are still thinking the same when in 1973 and then in 2001? But I realized that because sickle cell is a Black disease, most patients have relatives who have the same ideas years back and were still passing those messages to their children or their relatives. So we had to change that. You know, I thought I couldn't have kids. I've got 3 healthy children, full-blown, I'm full-blown, they are carriers. I even have a grandson now. Now, if I had taken that notion, thank you so much, I wouldn't have reached where I was. I knew I couldn't hold a job. You know, if I had believed that, I would be on unemployment income. You know, but I decided that wasn't going to change who I was and what I thought I could do. When I started running this business, I was told, Jemima, you couldn't cope. I knew I'd go to hospital regularly. How was I going to cope? I had to change my mindset. I had to find a way to go past the illness and then to survive. And to be honest, I wasn't really doing this for anybody. I was doing it for myself. How do I survive? How do I stop these limitations? Those are the things I was looking at. How do I cross these barriers? You know, how can I share what I have achieved? My mindset. That is why this whole book was written. If that answers the question. I think I've gone a bit round in circles, but if that answers the question.
I think you framed it really perfectly, Jemima, because I mean the important thing is that, you know, it's like all of these fables that go through history and everything like that, and they still get sown the seed. They're still there and get passed on to generations. And the same thing with this is that you're still locked into something that, as you say, is from 1973 and gone on beforehand and continue to now, because we have the granny stories and the mummy stories and all those kind of things. And especially when you have such close-knit communities as well, so you're all sharing those stories together, so it makes it harder to break those patterns and the limiting beliefs that go with it. So yes, I'm glad you did it from that side. What about from the medical profession? Why is it that you want to open their minds with them? What is it they need to be told that should be different?
Yeah, so I was fortunate to obviously be able to work on the wards as well, and not just on the wards. I think in one of the hospitals, I was asked to speak to, hello? Are you still there, Keely?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't see you, sorry. So yes, on the wards as well, in one of the hospitals where I'm treated, I had the privilege to speak to the healthcare professionals. Whilst as a nurse, during handovers, I heard so many things that was very heartbreaking. So most of the health professionals didn't understand what was going on. There's a stigma with sickle cell sufferers. Sickle cell sufferers are classed as drug addicts. Should I say that? I mean, I'm sure I'm allowed to say that because I heard this whilst I was having handover, and I've had to always explain to the nurses that it's not just because we need the medication or just because we want the medication. Actually, we need the medication to help us cope with the pain we're going through. I've had to have meetings. So I've had seminars with doctors and nurses, privileged to have that with doctors and nurses, just to explain, because I've experienced both sides of the coin, should I say. I'm a sufferer and also a healthcare worker. I've seen so many things and heard so many things. So if I've had to explain to healthcare workers, if I want to be a drug addict, I don't need to be on the ward to do that. I have all the medication I need at home. I don't need to come all the way to hospital to do that. So I've had to explain so many times on numerous occasions that when I'm in pain and I come into hospital, I need to know that the healthcare system or the nurses are there to help. I don't need anyone telling me I'm just here for drugs. Now, when that stigma is still being exercised on wards, either it stops the sufferer from having adequate painkiller. So we have sickle cell sufferers in pain. Sometimes I've heard, I've had sufferers ring the bell for morphine, and I've heard nurses say, I only gave it an hour ago. Why should I give it now? But it's been prescribed, and there's a reason for the prescription to help control the pain. So I think the stigma as well, it's something we really need to work on and to help. Healthcare carers don't understand because they aren't in pain. They just see, unfortunately, pain is what we say it is. And for people like me as well, I could be in pain and still doing so many other things. So although I have that, it doesn't mean I am not in pain. So I think this is where we need a lot of awareness. There's a lot of stigma around. I've had to speak to nurses. I've had to explain myself on numerous occasions. I've had to advocate for other sickle cell patients. And I was fortunate to be around at that time. So it's heartbreaking to think that this is still happening as we speak. A lot of stigma with the illness. Pain is not seen. So unfortunately, it's not treated as a serious condition, should I say. But the pain I could be in, it can be excruciating. There's so much. Sometimes I just want to lie down. I don't want to do anything because the pain, I don't want to get out of bed, or I can't get out of bed because of pain. So I think people need to understand that when we're having painkillers, it's not because
you're an addicted.
Yes, exactly. We could do that at home. I have so much painkillers here, but that's not the point.
And thank you for sharing that. And I know it's not on the pain threshold, but in the same way, I know my husband has got chronic back injury. He's been out of work since 2017, and he's on morphine patches and pregabalin, like every single medication you can think of. And it's the same thing, is that because they can't see your pain, they don't understand it. And there'll be days where you're functioning, and I'll say, albeit on the most capable level you can do. And then there's another time where you're completely dysfunctional because the pain is so extreme, or you've got the brain fog from the medication, plus the effects the medication has on your internal system and all those kind of things. So it's really, really tough. And I know that trying to communicate that message with other people is really, really hard to do. So when you're in an environment like you are, and you're also hearing that when you're working, it makes it tough as well, because you're having to fight the corner for someone that you're in as well. So that's, for me, is an important part of this whole book as well, is opening the eyes and the minds of the medical profession and changing the attitudes towards it. And not just the medical, but other people. Myself, Lorraine, Adrian, we don't know enough about sickle cell for us to understand what it is that you're going through and to be managing it. And equally, when we go into the workplace and we are looking at things around, women in workplaces, diversification, all those kind of things, even the corporate worlds need to understand. So we're also going from a place of compassion and being able to understand people on a much better level and understand what their daily life is like. And we're not going to know the ins and outs, but at least have some understanding is a starting point.
I agree. I completely agree. One may think I have a high pain threshold, but I think sometimes I just tell myself, this is life. Somehow I need to get on with life. I think it's a mindset. I have children to look after. I have you know, a mortgage to pay, I have a job to go to, you know, so it's about getting on with life. And I think that's what my book is that's what I'm trying to impact into other fellow sickle cell sufferers, you know. I think sometimes I do push myself a bit more than I should. But again, with pain, sometimes I use distraction. Most people use distraction to try and take the pain away, concentrate on something else. And I think that's what's also led me where I am. So I like to do other things to try and take my mind off the pain. But most of the time, I'm in a lot of pain. But hey, life goes on.
It most certainly does. And I have to say, I know Jemima, but she's one of these ones that keeps on soldiering on regardless. And she does need to have a bit of Keely going, stop,
I know.
slow down and breathe. Take time for yourself. So, and even some of the tools and strategies that are within this group, she's having reminded of on a regular occasion on our calls on it. So I would love, have you got a specific paragraph in your book that you could share with us right now? Is there something that you'd like to share that's special? Just a moment.
Yeah, there's so many important bits I have put in this book to help deal with the situation. I mean, it's not just the sickle cell sufferers, but the carers as well. There's so many, I don't even know where to start, but I just believe that your mindset is everything. What I want to, if anyone read this book, what I want everyone to go away with is, in life, your situation could be somebody's prayer point, I would say. So in life, don't always think you've got the bad of everything. You know, it could be a step to the best bit of your life. So that's what I want anyone who reads this book to go with. You know, as I said, there's so much I've written in this book to inspire other people. And with the healthcare professionals as well. I don't know if anyone would get to read this book, but like you said, they really need to understand it's not just about dealing with the pain, it's a psychological being of the human being as well. You know, so there's so much that we can all learn from each other. So yes, I think that's what I want to say.
You're keeping those special moments for people.
I think so. I don't want to pick up just one bit, but there's so much in the book that everybody will learn from. So the sufferer, the carer, everybody has a bit in this book to read for it.
Well, I'm looking forward to it because I have already got my copy, my online copy. I'm looking forward to actually get my physical copy, but I've got my online copy, so I'm looking forward to that and the story that you have to share with it as well. And interestingly, one of the phrases that you just said there, and I was listening to this podcast, high performing podcast, and there's a young lad that's on there. He's actually a singer and an incredible individual, and he got attacked quite a young age. And because of his mindset, he's got this mindset of when something that you would see as negative, he turns it on a head and he flips it. And he flips it so he can say, well, what positive thing can I learn from this? And it's a question I know both Lorraine, myself, and I know Adrian's got the same perception with it, is that, you know, problems come in. Fact, you know, external factors come in, but what can I do to change the narrative? What can I learn from this experience, as opposed to having the mindset where you could always be in that, oh, woe is me, life is terrible, could have, would have, should have, and all that lot, and you're wallowing in the life that you've got. What you can do is say, well, what can I learn from this? And the beauty of, you know, it's, I know it's incredibly hard what you're living with, but what you're doing is you're using that not only to help yourself, but you want to help others learn from it as well, so we can create a much better place and environment that has that awareness for sickle cell. So flip it. Anybody, whenever you have a problem, it's not a problem, it's a project to to solve and implement. So anyway, are you able to actually share the link for it now, or do you want to save this until you fully release, soon as
I could share this link.
Yeah.
but I think the whole idea is to share it after the launch, because
Well,
the big day is the 12th of August. And everyone's been asking, can I have the link? Where can I get it? And I'm saying it's almost done. It's baking in the oven. It's about to be launched. So I would wait till the 12th of August and I'll share the link. But please,
okay.
please, I
So
think
you might need to have a chat with Jonathan and ask him to remove it from LinkedIn.
I know, you see, it's already out. So everybody knows about the book. But I
Yeah,
think everybody's trying to see where they can obtain a copy.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
think that is where, but people, I think a couple of people have already purchased it.
yeah.
So I think I'll share it out. I'll share the link. I think I'll just share the link. I will share the link. I
Yeah.
will share the link.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, okay then. So that's fantastic. So thank you ever so much for joining us tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure, Jemima. And just as a reminder for everybody else, the whole reason I wanted her on the call tonight is because this is clearly a why, a purpose, and this is why she's got so much passion and able to achieve things in spite of what you're actually living with. And in fact, the reason why you're able to do this is because what you're living with, and it's given you a purpose, and you don't want other people to be experiencing what you've gone through, and also to open the eyes of others. So thank you ever so much, Mima. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. A bit anxious, but thank you. Thank you so much.
But you did fantastic.